Phil Phails at writing a theme song. He doesn't know the words to sing. If success is the flash in the pan, my friend, then failure's most everything. Phil Phails for you. Phil Phails for you. Phil Phails for you. Phil Phails for you. Moving into the second part, I like to do a little practice with my guests. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a practice of coming into the space, playing. It's going to be perfect for you, Pratim, or Naughty Monkey. We met. Do you remember where we met?
At the improv teacher training.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, we met there.
Yeah.
How many? That was years ago, huh?
Yeah, I think 2019 and just before the pandemic, I think.
We met at a improv facilitator training workshop.
Yes.
Yeah. That's part of kind of this thing to like, you know what? You know what I feel inspired to do? Yeah. I'd like you to direct us in something that will ground us to this. I'll share the intention. The intention is this, in this time, is for us to know each other, for me to learn from you, for anybody that's watching to have a greater understanding of Pratim and Naughty Monkey, of your journey, and also of like what Tantra is. Uh-huh. So how could we, what I've been doing is kind of silly faces and moving our body in weird ways. But I remember also on Thursdays, I would practice Tantra with you for a while.
Right.
During the pandemic.
Yeah, during the pandemic. Yeah.
I wonder if you could lead us in like maybe a minute or two little exercise that would calm us down and bring us into this space so we could continue.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Absolutely. Okay. We'll do some, maybe a little toning.
Yeah.
And we will play with our emotions a little bit.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. How do you want to do it?
Okay. So that's just heading up straight.
Okay.
And we'll to tone the sounds aum.
Aum.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as we tone the sound up, focusing on our heart. As we tone the oo, focusing on our sex. Mm-hmm. And as we tone focusing on our third eye.
Okay.
So let's do 3 aums.
Okay.
Yeah. Keeping your eyes closed and just bringing to mind a time when you felt the emotion of awe. Maybe at natural beauty or a piece of art or a spiritual experience. Scanning your memory to find a memory that really evokes the sensations of awe in your body, and not only the thought of awe in your mind alone. When you have established this reference of awe in your body, joining your hands at your heart, saying namaste to this experience. Namaste means the divine in me recognizes and honors the divine in you.
Namaste.
Namaste. And opening your eyes, and we'll do the same to each other. Having that awe in our body again.
Namaste.
Namaste, Philip.
Yeah, Pratim. Oh, I love you.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
When we did the tone part, I felt the vibration in the chakras. Is it the chakras, right?
Right.
I felt it with the awe. I felt it here.
Uh-huh.
With the I felt it down here, and it in my head. I remember that from when we did the practice.
Yeah.
And I feel more grounded now, having had that experience. Thank you so much for guiding us through that.
Thank you for asking me to do it.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. And I love sharing it, and it's that easy. You know, it doesn't need anything. Like, the one thing I like about Tantra is that it's really open source technology in a way. Like, you know, we don't need anything. Just our body is all we need.
There's some, you've exposed yourself though to a lot of learning, a lot of growth, a lot of, you know, you said open source technology, so the word technology comes to mind, but this like spiritual technology, this spiritual practice, it's a big part of what you share. It's a lineage. Is that true?
Yeah, 100%.
And so the tantras they're written.
So the term tantra, the definition, it has multiple meanings. The one is technique. So literally, tantra means techniques. Then there are books that record these techniques that are also known as the tantras. So there are books by that name. And then, because it's open source, every person has their own definition. And, you know, people add. One of my teachers says it's an embodied practice of love. And my definition is to recognize the divine in ourselves and everybody else. Any techniques that help us do that is Tantra.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is a great segue into learning about you. Where were you born?
I was born in Mumbai, India. It's like a New York city of India, but much more chaotic.
Like a chaotic New York.
Chaotic New York, yeah.
Mumbai, India.
Yeah.
And you were in Mumbai for how long? How much of your life were you there?
23 years.
23 years.
Right.
Okay, tell me about your childhood. What was that like?
Yeah, in India, in Mumbai, we lived in an apartment complex. And my family was neither too rich nor too poor. Like, we always had a roof on our head and food on the table, but no money to take us to restaurants or to vacations. You know, those were, you know, like restaurants was maybe once or twice a year. So that's why this impetus for economic advancement and through academics was big. But also childhood was much more fun in India. Like, in this apartment complex. There were maybe 30 families. And unlike America, where neighbors don't even really, know each other that much. Maybe there's an occasional hi across the front yard. But in India, like, neighbors really hash into each other's life. And we are free to roam around into anybody's house and run around and play. So it was a really fun time growing up that way.
Goodness. So there's 30 families in this apartment complex, and all of them, everybody's kind of like interweaved into each other's lives. They're
Right.
all like kind of brothers and sisters, or how intimate is it between the families?
I mean, obviously, some people are more interviewed into each other than others. Like, at least 2 or 3 families, their kids will be always at my house. Or like if you run out of milk or salt in your house, you just knock on the door of your neighbor and get some milk, So if somebody is getting married, then all 35 families are invited. Yeah.
Yeah, all of them.
Wow.
Can you imagine, like, if I got married, inviting everybody in this neighborhood? Like, it just wouldn't happen.
It just wouldn't happen. Yeah.
No, but those were your core community.
Right.
It sounds like.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and in fact, like, even after traveling to America and staying in, I have tried to find that communal aspect. Even here, I have stayed in intentional communities for most of my time in America, because I really miss that part of India.
Yeah. I have no idea what it's like to be Indian or to grow up in India. I have some distant idea of a caste system.
Right.
Was that part of your life? And if so, what does that mean? And where did y'all fall within that system? Is that true? Was there that kind of thing?
So, at least like Mumbai is a really urban area, like, New York. So it is less visible in India. I mean, in Mumbai, in rural areas, it is more visible. So growing up, I was surrounded by people of all castes. The 4 castes are the priests, the warriors, the business people and trades people, and then like the servants in a way. And then the 5th is outside of this, that is untouchability. People who are considered untouchable and outside the caste system. So then India became independent. They constitutionally banned all discrimination based on caste. But social norms take a long time to change, even if legally things change. So in rural areas, you could still see like people of different caste don't intermingle much. They don't eat at each other's houses. It is not allowed to eat at each other's houses. But in Mumbai, everybody is a migrant to Mumbai from different parts of India, and so we did not face any of those restrictions. We were free to eat anywhere and then intermingle with anybody. The only time when I could feel caste pop up is that in India, the constitution, they wrote affirmative action into the constitution to reserve seats in education and for people of the oppressed classes. And that is the time then we hear about, hey, who are you? Who are you? Oh, you have this reservation. I have this reservation, So different people had different amount of affirmative action. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. So I have another question about caste. And this, if it's not interesting to you, you can move on from it. But it seemed like there was two different levels. There was kind of like the poor caste, and then there was untouchables. Who were the untouchable people?
So back in the day, the people who handled dead bodies, which those were all people who were considered untouchable.
That means you don't like interact with them at all?
Yeah, the religious rule was you don't allow their shadow to fall on you. So sort of how in COVID we had this social distancing norm, 6 feet. It is roughly like that. And if I have to rationalize it at all, it's like diseases spread from dead bodies and sewage, and so those were maintained at a social distance. And maybe there was an epidemic at some point, and these rules were written down, but obviously those rules were no longer needed,
right?
And so there was a huge amount of oppression, especially because they were not even allowed to drink water out of the same lakes and wells as the people of the upper classes. And so for no fault of their own, if you are born into it, you face this massive amount of discrimination.
It's not only the dad, it'd be everybody in the family.
Yeah, it is everybody. You're just born into it. There's no escape out of. Once you're born into a caste of any of them, it is like,
there was no going in between castes. You were just,
maybe some people say before these roles became rigid, there was fluidity based on who you are. Like if you are a brilliant artist, then you become that. If you're spiritual, you become a priest. But at some point it became rigid, and it just passed down in the family.
Yeah. What was the most desirable caste level? Who were the most desirable folks?
The priests, those are looked upon as very smart, and so they were the most educated. That's by the time of my birth, and those are looked upon as, and but then, like I said, there was affirmative action, and so at some point in your, when you are trying to apply to schools and stuff, and then you are like, oh yeah, I wish I had the reservations of this caste rather than
You'd want a reservation of a lower caste because you'd have a higher probability of getting a job or getting into university,
right?
Because there was affirmative action.
Yeah,
they wanted to bring up the poor.
Yeah, so now in the past like 30 years, a lot of sections of Indian society are saying we also want affirmative action. So politics in India has become like people asking for affirmative action for their subgroup.
Where were your folks from?
They were from a rural area just north of Mumbai. And I was lucky enough to visit this rural area every summer holidays. And I could see the life there. Like even, there is no drinking water that is out of a tap. You walk a mile to a well or a lake and you fill water. And if there's a tap, it doesn't run all the time. Maybe once a week, the tap runs and you fill as much water as you can. And I have lived that life as well. And then they had cattle. And that is also a difference between how cattle is treated in India and America. If you want, I can speak a little bit.
How's cattle treated in India versus America?
At least back then. Like we were saying with the dog example, how much autonomy do we offer this being, right? So at least my grandfather's house and most of the houses, they would have, say, 12 to 15 cows. And then every morning the cows would be released and they would just roam around and eat around wherever they go.
They would just go wherever they wanted.
And then in the evening, they would return on their own.
They come home on their own.
On their own. And some of them have babies, and so the babies are at home. And while the time they're away, my grandfather would clean up all the dung and clean up their space, and then he would milk them in the morning and in the evening. So in a sense, there was this fair exchange of you provide us with milk and I will babysit your babies and also take care of the home for you. While in America and with industrialization, even with India, like, they have become objects of milk. They have lost the autonomy to roam around. They have lost the autonomy who they have sex with, because now we want to maintain the breed. These days I've heard that the babies are not even allowed to drink their mother's milk because it takes away from our output. In India, what we did was we allowed the baby to drink, then we would milk it. Then allow the baby to drink, then milk it, and then allow the baby to drink until end. And what happens is the mom produces more milk. If the baby is emptying out the milk every time, then the mom produces more milk. So the baby had a fair chance of being with the mom, and
Man, I have this funny visualization of like cows leaving the house in the morning and kind of going to the beach and just having like some like fancy free life.
Yeah.
Because you're saying like they could choose who they have sex with and they could choose kind of what to do. How would they come home? How did these cows, what happened? Did they always come home?
I mean, sometimes, rarely, one or two of them would get lost or something, and then we would have to find them. But otherwise, they regularly return home.
And do they still do it that way?
So, I mean, one stereotype that you might have heard of India is that when you're driving in India on the streets, there are cows roaming around and sitting in the street. So that still happens in a way, but like I said, with industrialization, with the milk becoming an industrial thing, yeah, they are kept in a confined space. But cow is considered like a religious, like a really religious animal in India. And part of the reason is because cow was first domesticated in India. And so they saw this as an exchange of like, oh wow, this animal is providing me milk like my mother provided with milk, right?
Yeah.
And so they have this reverence for, and so they want to treat it like, so, not to murder it in its old age or anything like that. So they allow them to just roam around. Yeah, in their old age, they just let go and they can roam around. Yeah.
Were you raised, or were your folks raised religious? And if so, what was the religion that your family had?
Yeah, it was Hinduism. Hinduism right now is like a mixture of multiple religious streams that existed in India. So it is orthodox, but not in the same way that Christianity or Islamic Orthodox might be. Because in India they say there are multiple ways to recognize the divine. And so in a family there might be an atheist who at every family function is like, you guys are doing stupid things, doing these religious things, but that person is also welcome. It's not like Orthodox, like, hey, if you talk bad about my God, then you will be ostracized, So I was in a religious, but certain norms like, the role of male and female and sexual expression and all those things, they were really tamped down and generally orthodox.
What was the family kind of unit like? Did your dad work? What kind of job did he have? Did your mom work? What was it like your daily life as a child?
Yeah, my dad worked in a bank, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She tutored, private tutoring, and life. So along those roles of my dad earned most of the money, and my mom was a homemaker. So the gendered roles, and most of my time was spent in studying academically. I got maybe 2-3 hours to have play and watch TV every day. But like I hear stories of people in American schools and high schools, and I'm like, wow, like at least in my schools and the schools around, like of my friends, there was very little drug use, very little, sexual escapades. Sex is a really taboo topic in India, so most people, it is very late until they lose their virginity. Like I didn't lose my virginity until age of 30, and that among my friends, that is not an exception at all. It's like,
really,
yeah,
your peer group, that was a general, that was like common age to. to lose your virginity.
Yeah.
30.
Or, in the late 20s or, yeah. So, there was a huge focus on academics.
Mm-hmm.
So we were all, I was an engineer. So if you're smart, then you either become an engineer or a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about how in America the education system is about finding your passion. But in India is more like finding discipline. Discipline first and then passion afterwards, if at all. But America is the reverse. Like you find your passion and then you have the discipline to do it,
And for you, you were smart, I imagine, and you chose, of doctor, engineer, you chose being an engineer.
You're right, yeah.
What did discipline look like in your house? Was your dad the disciplinarian? It sounded like from a financial perspective, your dad was the breadwinner.
Right.
He would bring home the bacon from the bank.
Right.
And your mom would take care of the household and also bring in some extra money by tutoring.
Right.
But predominantly she was taking care of you and taking care of the house.
Right.
And then was there like common gender roles around the mom is the nurturer and the dad is the disciplinarian? Was that something?
No, it was the mom. My mom was the disciplinarian. And then in those days, it was okay to hit you. And you got hit often. Maybe,
you got hit often?
Yeah, once a month at least. And I was in the top 10% academically of my school. I was not into any drugs or anything. But still I got hit.
Everybody got hit.
And everybody got hit. So it was not even like abuse,
Once a month was the frequency for good kids.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine for people who are naughty. Yeah, they got it a lot more.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
What did you get hit with? Was it a hand? Was it a belt? What was that like?
It would be hand or a wooden, like a scale, like a measuring.
To measure grain or measure some kind of salt or something.
No, like a scale is like a ruler. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, ruler.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Where did she hit you?
It could be on the hand here, or slap in the face, or on the bum, And teachers in the school also hit us. Then if you got hit in school and you came home and told your mom,
you got hit at home too.
You got hit at
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was just talking in one of my earlier interviews about when I was in school in Mississippi. I still remember in elementary school, the principal. I went to the principal's office a lot, and I still remember when the principal called my dad and asked him if he could spank me.
Wow.
So we were at a time when they were just kind of. I think before that they would have just spanked
you
them,
right.
But then probably some parent was like, "Well, I don't know about that." So then they called. But then most parents would be like, yeah, go ahead, go to town on that one. But in India, it sounds like there wasn't any call. Hitting kids was just a part of life.
Yeah, 100%. I think it has changed. Now there is no hitting in schools. But, 30 years ago, you got hit in schools.
Did they ever hit the cows?
Yeah, I mean... Hows, if they're on the road and not moving,
They get hit.
This take, yeah.
Oh. I was just wondering if like the cows have all this autonomy.
No,
they get milked, and then the baby gets milked, and they clean it up after them, but then they hit the kids.
Yeah.
That was to keep discipline, keep kids in line.
Yeah.
Goodness. And your dad never hit you.
I mean, rarely. I mean, if my dad became angry, that was a rare thing. That was a big thing, So I was really afraid of that. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. When do you remember the last time your mom hit you?
Maybe before my age 13 or something.
13.
Yeah.
She stopped hitting you around
Yeah.
13.
At that time, I just became so so obedient and so focused on my academics that there was no scope, I guess.
There was no way you could get
You
hit
get
because
hit.
you were such a good kid.
Good kid, yeah.
You just became, I wonder if that like instilled in you this value around people pleasing.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You know.
Oh my goodness. Have you always had a stutter?
As far as I remember, my mom tells me it was until the age of 5 or 6 I could speak fluently, and then starting then I have had stutter.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
Did anything happen around then? Is there any awareness of what might have?
I mean, it sort of runs in my family,
Mm-hmm.
and my cousins have had it, and yeah, I had a friend who had it too, and I would mimic him and tease him, I guess.
Before you had yours, you teased
him, yeah.
Oh, man.
And but yeah, somehow it started, and I don't remember how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're raised in, y'all were in Mumbai. You went back to your country home once a year, or a couple times a year. And then at what age did you move out of the house?
So in typical Indian family, it is possible that a kid never moves out of the house. If I had received employment in Mumbai, I would still be staying with my family or in a house like 2 blocks away or something, you know. That's typical in India. But I wanted to get my master's degree in engineering, and I decided to do it in America. And my mom was really reluctant to send me so far away, but I was like, I'll be back in 2 years.
I'll be back, huh?
I'll be back in 2 years, and it has been 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not coming back, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so engineering. And where'd you move in America?
I went to school in Georgia Tech, Atlanta.
Atlanta. That had to have been night and day different from India.
Yeah. I mean, in my initial days, I felt really unsafe in Atlanta.
Really?
Yes.
Unsafe.
Unsafe. Because in Mumbai, I could travel at any hour of the day, at midnight. There's public transport. There are hundreds of people around. You are never alone in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Then Atlanta, after some time, the streets are empty. You're walking alone in a way,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a homeless population in Atlanta. Like Georgia Tech is almost hit the town Atlanta. So when homeless people approach you, and they look mentally unstable, and there is nobody else on the street, and it's only you and this person, it's like, I don't know what will happen, so I felt a bit unsafe in Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Did you make friends in Atlanta? Like, what was that like?
No, because it was just school. My friends were all in my, school, and we would be doing projects together. That is another difference between college experience in India and America. In America, it's a big, big exploration of your independence, and there's a lot of partying and freedom to But in India, you pick a discipline. Like I pick computer engineering, and you don't have the freedom to take lectures. in history or psychology, or that you just are doing computer engineering. And so my circle of people were all computer engineers. And even in Atlanta, I was just focused on school, just computer engineers. Yeah.
Wow. School.
Yeah.
Were you practicing Hindu during that time?
I was a non-practicing Hindu, like it was at the back of my mind. I would write it on paper if anybody asked me my religion, but I was not really practicing. And at some point after my master's degree, staying in America, and then reading about evolution and stuff like that, I even became an atheist. And I was atheist for about 8 years or so.
Yeah. And then what happened after Georgia Tech?
I got my job in technology. I worked at Intel, the semiconductor, and but also I decided to take a small step into exploring my independence, and I moved into a community house, like an intentional community. And that is where I first met my first homosexual roommate, my first polyamorous roommate, my first atheist roommate, my first anarchist roommate. And before that, I had only socialized with other Indians, even though I had spent 2 years in America. And this was my chance. I had roommates from Korea, China, Ecuador, and of course Americans from many different states. And I could see the melting pot that America is and experience it. And I really enjoyed that.
Where was this?
This was in a small town in Illinois named Urbana-Champaign.
And this is where you got into your first kind of intentional community, and you met a diverse array of people.
Right.
The first time you kind of hung out with folks that weren't Indian.
Yeah.
And how'd that impact you?
I mean, it had a big impact on me. Like I could see, like I said, I became an atheist because I could like every day or dinner, I would have discussions with different folks, and like the homophobia in me, I could see like, oh wow, I had so much homophobia in me, and being roommate with a homosexual person, I could be like, oh wow, I have made jokes about them or laughed at them without really knowing, why do we laugh at this. But yeah, it helped me expand my mind in many ways.
You were homophobic.
Yeah, in India, like, homosexuality is not spoken about, or even out there, like, and so people just make fun of each other, like, you are so gay, and that is like an insult to a man. If your friend says you are so gay, that is an insult. And so I was not explicitly like anti-homosexual, but I was like, hey, I would laugh at those jokes, or I would be like, oh, don't tell that to me, I would take it as an insult.
Yeah.
But I could see once I experienced living with them, I could see, oh wow, I was wrong.
Yeah. That's a parallel between India and Mississippi, probably Texas too. Just when I was growing up, if you did anything that was like outside of the norm for masculinity, you were called gay.
Right.
It was just really common. That was kind of a word, I think, designed to bring you into the masculine fold.
Right.
To not do anything strange or weird, to be kind of normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now on my tantric path, as I explore the divinity in both the masculine, the feminine, and the spectrum in between, I can see how this boxing of people into strict masculine, strict feminine roles, it has led to a lot of disease in the minds and bodies of people, you know. And then there is toxic masculinity and toxic femininity because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there racism in India, or did you have any racism when you came to America?
So overall in India, darker skinned people are looked down upon than fairer skinned people.
Mm.
In fact, on TV and everything, there are ads that run that, you know, if you apply this lotion, you will be fairer, and you will have more options in your career and your dating, and so there's racism of that sort. White people are looked up to. You know, a white person can be stupid, but if they arrive in India and they say something, people are really like, yes, he said it, you know. Yeah, I want to listen to it.
Oh, goodness.
So yeah, there is racism.
Where did you fall? Your complexion, where does it fall from, like, light skin to dark skin? Because I look at you, but I don't know in India, how does that fit?
It's in the middle in a way.
You were in the middle.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about putting on some of that cream to make your complexion lighter?
Yeah, I mean, I did not think about it because it is mainly marketed to women. But it did, whenever I would see another man with a terror complexion, I would be like, if only I was like that, you know. I would have that.
Man.
And then, yeah, and then being here in this melting pot here, and only recently I have come to accept my skin tone more fully. I have had partners who were like, I love your skin tone, you know, like, oh wow. I was like, you love my skin tone? I don't love my skin tone. And it is through their eyes that I have been like, oh wow, you know, I love and accept myself. Yeah.
Yeah. By seeing that folks desire this skin tone, you've been like, okay, maybe I can take that on myself. I can adopt your affinity for it. And now I can accept and love my skin tone.
Right.
Wow. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So, okay, you're in Intel. You're at Intel, and you're in an intentional community. You're meeting folks of different sexual orientations, folks of different religious orientations. You become atheist. Do you start putting atheists on your label forms, or are you still putting the Hindu?
I think I put atheist.
You put atheist.
Yeah. You
didn't believe in God at all at that point.
Yeah, it all seemed like, you know, the Big Bang happened by accident, and then things rolled out of that, and then evolution kicked off, and then, you know, the amoebas and you know, the trees and the animals and the monkeys and humans, and there was no role for God in that, you know? Yeah.
And what happened next? You're doing semiconductors. Yeah. Until you're probably making good money.
Yes.
At that point.
And there was all this open sexuality around me, and but I was still orthodox in my heart, and then I did not have the confidence for dating. Like I said, my stutter, my skin tone, my height, and I would be like, who would want to date? So I just stayed out of dating. And thankfully in India, I mean, thankfully or unfortunately, there is this thing named arranged marriage.
Yeah.
And then I arranged my own
You arranged
marriage.
it.
I arranged my own marriage. So in the past, it would be like, oh, these families know each other, and so, or this aunt introduces like, hey, this girl here, I have known her since childhood, and she'll be an amazing match for you. But now in India, there is this like, there are these apps. They're like Tinder, but with the explicit purpose to get married in the next 6 to 12 months. So you're swiping, but it is not for a hookup, but it's for like, oh, we are getting, we have the intention to get married. So I found an app like that, and I registered, my profile, and then because these are mainly Indians, there may not be any Indian in the town that you live. So there were Indians in different states of America, or even in different countries around the world. And eventually I found my ex-wife who lived in Singapore at that time.
Singapore.
Yeah, so we only talked on his time, and we met for a week in India. After a month of talking on his time, and then in 3 months we got married.
Oh my goodness.
That is so rapid. That is so insane.
You got an app, and in this app you found a lady in Singapore, and then y'all FaceTimed together for a month.
Right.
Oh my goodness. How did you know if there was a spark or chemistry? How would you?
So in a way, the mindset in India of a marriage is very different than the mindset of a relationship here. Like here you find that spark chemistry and then build a family out of it. But in India, the marriage is between two families, and love arises afterwards in a way. Like you find compatibility in families and stuff like that first, and then hope that the spark arises or love arises.
How do you figure out the compatibility between the families? You're doing it over FaceTime. You're talking over FaceTime.
The families also meet each other.
The families are talking too.
In fact, I may have met her mom before I met her.
Really?
The first meeting is with both families together. Yeah.
That's so different.
That is so different.
Did you like it?
I mean, like I said, I had no confidence in my dating abilities, and so I was happy that this option existed. But the marriage was really hard because I did not have any relationship skills. I had never dated in my life. I had no sexual skills. Like I said, I was a virgin. Yeah, and so she was, because I was this obedient child in a way, and she was a more mischievous one. So she had, rebelled and had more experiences than me, and so I was disappointing her all the time, and I did not realize like why I'm being such a good husband based on the model I had looking at my father and my mom and my uncles and my aunts, and so looking at that model, I was like, I'm being such a nice husband, but but she was disappointed in me, and she would tell me, but I would not understand. I was like, I don't understand what is wrong here, and so yeah, there was a lot of friction, and we tried to make it work for 4 years, and in the end I was like, yeah, I didn't still recognize that it was my fault that I didn't have the relationship skills. I still blamed her for being ungrateful and not in love with me, and so I walked away. And it was only in my healing path, in looking for healing in this divorce, that I came to recognize, like, oh wow, I had no relationship skills, I had no sexual skills, and that's how I found Tantra.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's where we want to go here.
Okay.
So, where were you when you found Tantra?
I had moved to Austin, and I was looking for sexual healing. If this is not TMI, I had premature ejaculation.
Yeah.
And so I was looking how to heal premature ejaculation, and one of the answers online was Tantra. And so I searched Tantra in Austin, and there was an event happening in the next day. And I was like,
goodness, how fortunate.
I'm not the type of person who attends an event like this, but I need
clicked
this. Yeah.
This could be just the musician in me. As soon as you said sexual healing, I just have Marvin Gaye in my mind. I'm sexual healing, baby. Feels good to me. Makes me feel all right. So you were searching for sexual healing for premature ejaculation, and you came upon Tantra as a form,
Right.
to kind of heal that, to start to have a different orientation in a sexual context. You weren't a virgin anymore. That
Right.
happened to your marriage, but throughout your marriage, you still had that. I don't want to say problem. It was a way you were sexually.
Yeah.
Just you would get excited.
Yeah, and I wasn't never able to satisfy her, and also myself. I had never had the orgasms that I now have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was this like? The first Tantra? Was it a workshop? Was it a day class? What was it?
It was an evening, like a 3-hour workshop, and there we learned about consent, the boundaries, desires, how to speak your desires, how to speak your boundaries, and then there was free playtime where people made requests of each other, and and then I recognized that I don't even know what to ask for, and I don't even know my desires, or I'm too afraid, like a person I'm attracted to ask for my desires for the fear of rejection. And so I was like, oh, I don't know what these hippie people are doing here, but there's something for me to learn here. And so I was like, okay, I will continue on this path. And then my teacher, Scottio at Ecstatic Hearts, he had a weekend workshop for, teaching many different tantra techniques and doing an emotional release process. Like the fear of rejection is because we have a story that if I ask for what I desire, I'll be rejected, and then nobody will love me, and then I'm unlovable. And so, yeah, like doing that workshop, the weekend one, and the techniques that they taught, they were so enjoyable, so orgasmic, that I was like, okay, I can do these techniques every day. So the recommendation was to do them every day for 15 minutes to an hour and a half, and I would do it for an hour or hour and a half every day because I was just enjoying it so much. In doing those practices, slowly I started to see the divine in myself and not attached to the specific personality of my stutter, or if I have a desire to not feel bad about it, to speak it, then be open to receiving a yes or a no, Yeah.
Was this before ecstatic dance? Was this before? What had you been exposed to when you went to that first meeting?
Okay, so my first practice was Buddhist meditation.
That was within Tantra.
What? That is non-Tantra.
You first got involved in Buddhism here in Austin.
Yeah, here in Austin.
Okay. Where'd you go?
At the Shambhala Center.
Yeah.
And there somebody told me about improv. And then I see improv as a really spiritual practice. I see it as the tantric practice in the way.
Yeah.
Because it's letting go of attachment and being in the moment.
Absolutely.
And and not being afraid to make a fool of yourself, not being attached to this ego,
Yeah.
So improv was my second spiritual practice. And then in that improv, somebody talked about psychedelics. And specifically ayahuasca. And so I went to Peru and in the Amazon, and I did ayahuasca, and that really opened my eyes, and it showed me what all religions are pointing to, this
universal
divinity.
consciousness.
Yeah, and it was shown to me, and that's when I became a non-atheist, I guess.
Oh yeah.
I was like, wow.
You saw it.
Yeah.
So this is very similar to you and I. I found improv first. Shout out to Best Friends and Belly Laughs, which is where we met at the facilitator training. Wonderful community here in Austin.
Right.
They're still doing free classes where they teach people of all kind of levels. I think they're doing it online and in person now. Wonderful community. And after that, I discovered the Buddhism, and that's where when I started going to the Buddhist kind of contemplative practice communities, that's where I realized, hey, there's a similarity between these two.
Right.
Improv is actually a spiritual practice, and Buddhism is a practice of improv. There is this like symbiotic relationship between the two of them. 100%. And it was so beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. And so ayahuasca, so you're on a journey of learning and growing. You're on a journey of new things, discovery, opening your mind in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, 100%. Like you mentioned, one of the themes is transformation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this divorce was really that turning point in me, where I was like, okay, I have done everything that was expected of me by my family, by my society, and still there is this pain that I have now, and so I was really like, going to find, I'm going to do whatever it takes. At this point, it was like, if somebody that I have resonance with mentions a thing like, oh, I tried improv and it was good. I'm like, okay. A door appears and I go walk through the door.
Yeah.
And then outside, I don't know. Then another door appears and then I walk through that door, So I was just open to trying anything.
Yeah. I think of like having a real yes brain. You were
Yes.
like, you were a yes to new experience, a yes to uncertainty, a yes to adventure. You were yes to all of these things. And how could you not be influenced, and how could your mind not be changed? I would say for the better.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Like, especially improv is a big part of that, because, it teaches us the yes and also like opening our mind up, like the mind makes these neural networks that becomes solidified, and certain input leads to certain output, because it is that is the that pattern that has been reinforced again and again and again.
Yep.
That improv forces us to think outside that pattern with examples like new choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New choice.
New choice.
Yeah.
New choice.
New choice. Yeah.
And your brain literally has to be like, oh, expand. Yeah.
And then ayahuasca, what was that like? You went to Peru and you found ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
I mean, I had never done any drugs, any psychedelics, not like alcohol. I had tasted it, but I had never been drunk. I had never been even tipsy. I had just drunk, tasted alcohol. So it was my first ever psychedelic or any type of that experience. And the Buddhist meditation practices, they really helped me in my ayahuasca. Like, whenever things became really intense, I could be in my meditation. And that's where I thought, oh, wow, these two ancient technologies of the East and the West, in a way, they complement each other. And I had a beautiful experience.
What was the format for the ayahuasca? Did you do it, what was the ceremony around the experience? Was it multiple nights? Like, what was the whole environment? Like the context, what was it like?
Right. So, I mean, first it was really remote. So like you fly, so to Peru, the capital is Lima. You fly into Lima, then you take another local flight to a town in the Amazon named Iquitos. This
What was
town,
it called again?
Iquitos.
Iquitos.
And this town doesn't have any road access to the outside world. It is in the Amazon, and there are roads internally, but there is no road access to outside. You fly into that. Then you take a taxi to the river for an hour. Then you take a boat in the river for 2 hours. Then you hike in the Amazon for another half an hour. And so it was like that remote. And it was the people leading the ceremony were, of the local people. And the format was that you do it for 5, you stay there for 5 nights, let's say Monday to Friday, and you take it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is off, and you take it again Thursday, Friday. and then for me, and then you take it at night after it's dark at around 8 o'clock ish, and you journey for how much ever time. They sing these songs named ikiros, and they blow tobacco smoke on your face. And when I went there, I was an atheist, and so I was like, these ikiros and these blessings of this smoke, this is all drama, and I'm here really for the substance. But as I was in it, I could feel, each ikiros starting a new ride, and that ride climaxing with the ikiros, and then resolving, and then the next ikiros starting another exploration inside, and then the blessings also. I was like, wow, this is, these guys have access to some technology that I was not able to respect earlier.
You weren't an atheist after that.
I was not an atheist after that. Yeah.
How did you find your way? You said you fly to Lima, you take a plane to this town that has no road in the Amazon to get to. Then you take a taxi to a river, 2 hours down the river, one half hour hiking in the jungle.
Yeah.
How did you find your way to this place?
Like I said, in those days, I was just following anybody tells me I had this experience. Wow, I'm like, okay, if you can do it, I can try it too.
Yeah.
And at one of my Buddhist meditation, I met a girl who was, a small girl.
A girl. That's what has happened.
Yeah, and like, the muses really have helped me to transform multiple times in my life. It is, the feminine has this role of attracting and then taking us down up the path. And even though she did not, travel with me or anything, I was like, oh, if she can do this remote thing, then I can do it too,
Yeah.
Just to be a hero in her eyes or something, Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Were there other Westerners there, or what was the mix of maybe folks from America or other countries and folks from Peru?
In the people doing it, there was no Peruvians. It was all, Swiss and Costa Rica and Australia, But the people running it were the local people.
Yeah. Was it rustic? Were you staying in tents
Like,
or?
it is like a hut with a mosquito net around it, like just a thatched roof. Palm leaves and stuff, and then just a mosquito net around it.
Was it expensive?
I mean, for the amount of transformation it has had in my life, it was a deal.
Yeah, it was cheap.
It was cheap. It was like maybe $1,000 for the whole 5 days or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and the travel and stuff. But at that, earlier I would be hesitant to spend $1,000 on any experience like this.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was born and raised in, economic scarcity in a way. So $1,000 is, but on this transformation path, I've found that, multiple things have really, like, that money I paid is nothing compared to the transformation I got out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so this is all before you've even discovered Tantra.
Yes.
This was improv, Buddhism, ayahuasca, some kind of fun and play, some deeper spirituality, and then psychedelics, all kind of in the same vein of transformative experiences.
Right.
Things that I think improv opens your mind and then Buddhism meditation stills that mind, and then, man, ayahuasca.
Yeah, have you tried it?
I haven't. No.
Okay.
No, I haven't. I did the ketamine assisted psychotherapy
Uh-huh.
here in town, and that was wild.
Wow.
I did probably 9 sessions of that with an IV,
Uh-huh.
and it was a pretty intense experience. I think it definitely tapped me into that universal consciousness and
Yeah.
reset some things for me. I definitely believe in psychedelic as a format for healing and for growth work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What happened with the Tantra journey, where I imagine you looked different. You looked differently before and after.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, 100%. I have a picture that has that, before after, and it surprises people a lot.
You do? You've got that picture?
Yeah.
I'll have to share that. I don't know how I'll do that with the folks that are listening, but I'd love for them to see kind of what transformation look, because it's not only on the inside. There's an external transformation that follows this opening of the mind and exploration. Then your physical form starts to change.
Right. 100%. Yeah. Just before I started on this healing path, and I had enrolled into school for MBA. Then it is a top 5 school in Chicago, Northwestern. And I was halfway through it, and it is really expensive, and I had spent all this money. I'm halfway through, and as I recognized, what I wanted to do with my life, I was like, I can't do this MBA anymore, and I just let go of all this investment, all the time.
Oh my goodness.
And so this before picture I have is from my MBA days. I'm in a suit and tie and shaved, and and the after picture is from an ecstatic dance. I don't know if I think you were there in the pandemic times. We were dancing near the river.
Oh yeah.
And we would be just wild and rolling in the mud. Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. It was a wild place. Yeah, we cleared all that out. We'd go up there week after week and clear the woods and pull out the vines and prepare the ground for us to have ecstatic dance there. And it was right next to the river where we would go. But it would get really muddy. And I remember it was just, it was wild.
It was wild. So, yeah, the after picture is after I have danced in that space, I've rolled around in the mud, and I'm just like all mud over me. And so, yeah, the before after picture is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still an engineer?
I'm an engineer of this human body, this human mind, and of this human society, but I'm not technically, I'm not a software engineer anymore.
This is a great topic for me, for Phil Phails, because I'm at this place in my life where I want to transition from being a software engineer, which I've done for the last 10 years or so, and it was a journey that I embarked on from a place of fear.
Right.
I'd gotten divorced and I had 2 kiddos. I still have 2 kiddos, and there was a fear. How can I provide for these children? How can I, build a house? How can I, have the resources that we need to thrive? And I didn't know any other way. It was a path that I'd seen. I didn't need to go to school. I could teach myself, and so it was a journey that I've had for 10 years, and I just find myself really, I want to be done with that journey,
right?
And to transition to start again, to invest my time and energy in something that I find more meaningful,
right?
Something I'm more passionate about, to follow my aliveness,
100%.
which is what brings us here together,
right?
So, what was it like for you to transition from working probably a pretty consistent, steady job, working as a software engineer, to where you are now?
Yeah.
being a Tantra permissionist.
Permissionist. Yeah. So software industry really pays really well, you know. But because I was born and raised in this economic scarcity in a way, I had these good financial habits that did not let my salary determine my expenses. And I lived in an intentional community. I shared a house with 13 people, and we cooked and ate together. And so my monthly expenses were really low. So this high salary, low expense lifestyle allowed me, for every month I was employed, I was allowing the future me to not be employed for 5 months. For every month I'm employed, I'm allowing the future me to not be employed. You know, and in this day and age, I'm so thankful for technology for that, because all this knowledge is available to us on our fingertips. And there is this movement named FIRE, financial independence and retire early.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I would follow that, watch investment advice and this and that. And so I decided that, okay, if ever I hit $1 million in net worth, I would resign. And I bought real estate to have it on rent. I invested in my retirement account.
You're a millionaire, Pratim? You made the $1 million.
I guess.
What? Way to go, bro.
Yeah.
So you invested, you followed the FIRE. FIRE, there's a subreddit. Where did you find it? Where did you find the FIRE?
YouTube. But I guess it started on Reddit. And then, it says that if your expenses are low enough to be 4% of your savings, then you can retire early. There are different ways of investing and stuff like that. And so then was not like I was not enjoying my life. I loved living in an intentional community. It really expanded my mind. I loved eating dinner with 10 people at the table instead of eating alone. Yeah, talking, laughing every day, and I spent a lot of money on my healing path as well. For a long time, maybe every month I was doing 2 weekend retreats. In different things, Buddhism, dance, improv, tantra.
When I met you, it seemed like we both talked about it, and we were both going to workshops every weekend, like whatever we could find to learn and grow.
So I was enjoying my life fully as well, but also, these main expenses of rent and food, because of the sharing, they were really low, and not eating out at restaurants. Restaurants, I'm even amazed now at how, sometimes we can pay, like a huge amount of our rent as one meal at a restaurant.
I'm going to help you real quick. I'm just going to push this that way.
Okay.
You're doing great. Just
keep
doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just going to make this a little bit closer. Bam.
Yeah. Sweet.
So you didn't eat out at restaurants. You invested in real estate. You were living frugal in a way that also was very enriching.
Right.
Like you were sitting around a table with like 10 people. You were living with people. You were living a very rich life, but a frugal life.
Yeah, and that's where I sort of this idea that money buys happiness, but like sometimes it is the tribe. Yeah, having a tribe
Oh, yeah.
it buys happiness manyfold more than anything money is able to buy.
Yeah.
And so yeah. Hmm.
So now you're teaching Tantra.
Right.
Is that true?
Yeah.
What's that like? What is it like to be a teacher, to be now holder of this sacred technology and someone that's passing it on to folks?
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, my title is the Tantra permissionist,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason is because then the root is that I am a divine expression, just like you are,
Mm-hmm.
and then I may be 2 steps ahead in this part of life, but you may be 10 steps ahead in that part of my life,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a guru, but I do have some information on these tantric technologies for more intimacy with yourself and with others and with the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love learning, teaching, and living
Yeah.
tantra. Those are the 3 things I do every day.
Yeah. Are you still living in these intentional communal houses?
Yeah. So recently, I moved in with my partner. So I'm not living in an intentional house with 13 people, but we still have roommates, and we have 4 of us living in a 3-bedroom house.
Mm-hmm.
But we enjoy talking to each other. We love hanging out together. Yeah.
Absolutely. And let's see, where do we go now? We've discovered this transformation that you had from India. Oh, I had a question.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's probably what everybody's going to want to know. Were you able to cure the
Premature ejaculation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you cure that?
So the one thought of tantra is to love and accept yourself exactly as you are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so when I started my healing path, I was eager, like, oh, I want to heal this,
Uh-huh.
But in doing my tantric practices, I started having these orgasmic experiences without even having sexual activity.
Oh wow.
And not only in me, I could induce it in my partners,
Really?
or even other people at ecstatic dance and stuff like that, like induce orgasmic experiences in them.
Wow.
Without having any sexual interaction. And so that was really amazing. Like, wow, I'm having these orgasms, And then slowly over time,
Mm-hmm.
the status right now is that I ejaculate maybe 2-3 times a month,
Mm-hmm.
but I have sex almost every day, multiple times a day.
Mm-hmm.
So it is healed, but some days it is back again,
Yeah.
But on most days it is healed. So that my role is to love and accept it exactly as it is.
Yeah.
There are other people that I teach these techniques to that heals them, in a week, of doing it. So different people have different reactions, and each of us is on our own path. But I would say in summary that I got much more out of it, out of following the healing path than I had ever imagined.
How long ago did you start this journey? Do you remember when you got that message and you went to the to that one,
it was in
class?
June of 2018. Um,
2018.
yeah, and it's 2024. So
28.
6 years.
So 6 years you've gone from seeking a sexual healer to being a sexual healer now.
Right.
You can help folks that are seeking knowledge of Tantra and wanting to enrich their lives in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
That's
I feel really
amazing.
blessed. Then also overall this relationship piece, like, I struggled because I didn't have relationship skills, sexual skills. And I see, a lot of people in America, the divorce rate is 50%
More
or more.
than 50%.
And so I mean, I wish there to be a world where these essential skills like relationship skills, sexual skills, diet skills, exercise skills are taught in school. I'm like, I went through my life being a A student, through all these elite schools, and I was never taught these essential skills.
Yeah.
And then we see that there is this massive depression and loneliness in America, and it's happening everywhere. I'm like, wow, it's because we don't teach these essential skills.
Yeah.
And it's only after things shit hits the fan that we try to find healing,
Yeah. Such essential skills.
Right.
These are like human skills.
Right.
Foundational skills.
Uh-huh.
And we're just overlooking them.
Yeah. And I think, my hypothesis is that the modern education system is born out of the industrial revolution in a way, and it is made to make us employees,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe in America to make us citizens, but not to make us a thriving human being, And so that's my mission right now, to teach these skills to as many people as possible, so that this trauma is not passed down generation after generation, because then the families have tension, the children they're affected in some way or the other.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you put Hindu in the box, and then you put atheist in the box, or do you put Tantra in the box? Is Tantra a religion, or how does it play into your ideas on religion?
I mean, right now I haven't had to fill a box in a
You're done with
long
boxes.
time. I'm done with boxes for a long time. But if I had to I would put spiritual. Like,
Yeah.
Tantra is not a religion. It can be applied to any religion.
Kind of like Buddhism.
Yeah, there is tantric Buddhism as well. Like the Tibetan Buddhism is all tantric in a way.
Ah.
It can be applied to Christianity. It can be applied to Islam. It can be applied to anything. It is just about not just believing what is written in a book or what a teacher tells you, but having direct experiences.
Yeah.
And what teacher tells is important. What is written in the books is important. But then you have a direct experience. You are able to read the book differently. You will read the kingdom of God lives within you.
Yeah.
Very differently when you have experienced that. You're like, wow, the kingdom of God is in me.
Yeah.
Or love that thy neighbor as yourself.
Mm.
You'll be able to really feel like, wow, yeah.
Those spiritual experiences,
better.
those religious experiences,
Yeah.
they change the text. They make
Yeah.
them more, you feel them more than just this cognitive
Yeah.
understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this is powerful.
Yeah.
That's real powerful.
Uh-huh.
So we're kind of getting towards the end, and the idea for me, if I was going to fail at Tantra, I would start to invite some practices into my life and maybe circle back with you and talk to you about it, or reflect on how these practices has changed my life. What do you think I could do maybe over the next, if I was going to invite Tantra practices into my life over the next, say, 6 weeks or maybe 2 months? How would I go about doing that? What would you recommend for somebody such as myself? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the practice that my lineage teaches, and that you have done in our online classes.
The Gaia set, right?
Gaia sets.
Gaia sets.
It stands for gratitude, acceptance, intention, activating the body, stilling the mind, energizing sex, transmuting with breath work, and sending it out as compassion. And this practice, it hits multiple parts of our self. You know, we have a body, we have a mind. In Tantra, we believe we have an energy body as well. You know, the chakras and stuff like that. So this practice hits all of them. And yeah, I have free recordings of the times I taught it, and you know, I can share those recordings with you and the audience, and you can try it out and see.
How many times? How many times should I do it a week? What would be a good frequency if I was going to start to invite this into my life?
Ideally, doing it every morning, like starting your day with it, and it can be 15 minutes, half an hour, how much ever time you have, because what happens is there is things that happen in our daily life, stresses and traumas that stick to us every day.
Yeah.
Then if we don't, like brushing our teeth every day, if we don't clean the things that stuck that day, things just build on and on,
right.
You know. And what we have right now is we have built 30 years, 40 years of stuff already on, you know. And so doing a daily practice helps it slowly dissolve away. Yeah.
I love that. So once a day, about 15, 30 minutes a day, or really as long as you want.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like your morning hygiene.
Morning hygiene. Yeah. And the thing I like about the practice in my lineage, I told you all the headings. But what you do in that is up to you. Like activating the body. If you feel like today I feel like running, you know, and you can run.
Yeah.
And today I feel like
we did this guy.
Stretching. Yes, stretching my muscles. You can stretch my muscles with yoga.
Yeah.
Today I feel like dancing. I can dance. So
we did the dance. I remember
dancing.
That.
Yeah. So like, you know, it is flexible because you are different every day, and what you need is different every day.
Yeah.
But it hits all those aspects. So that's the structure and flexibility.
Yeah.
Both.
I wonder if you'd want to guide us through something as we conclude. If there was some kind of practice that you could guide us both through as we conclude this interview.
Okay. Yeah.
Would you be?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I love doing things with emotions. And also we can do some breath work.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, closing our eyes, and we will see that our inhales and our breathing has four parts. There is the inhale, there's the hold at the fullness, then there's the exhale and a hold at the emptiness. And so let's take a deep inhale and hold until you feel the desire arise to exhale, and then slowly exhale and hold on the emptiness, and wait until the desire to inhale arises and hold, and then slowly inhale. And as you inhale and exhale, maybe imagine as you inhale, you're pulling the energy up from your sex organs, up the spine to your uh, to your forehead or the third eye. And holding it at the third eye, and then exhaling it down back to the root. Once you're steadied into this, bring to mind a loved one that you would like to send some compassion or healing energy to. Continuing to do this inhale, and maybe on an exhale you imagine sending this energy to a loved one. Compassion or healing energy. And slowly expanding this beam of compassion to more of your loved ones. Expanding it even more to include friends and family. Expanding it even more to include acquaintances, co-workers. Expanding it even more to include all beings. Expanding it to even those that you might have some tension with. Because ultimately, all of us are just trying to make the best of the life that we have and find happiness in it. Finally, including yourself in this bubble of compassion, because even you are just trying to make the best out of this existence that you did not ask to be born into. You just awoke into this. And so having some compassion for yourself. And we end with Namaste, joining our hands. The divine in me recognizes and honors the divine in you.
Namaste. Thank you, Pratim, for coming and speaking with me today.
Wow.
Goodness. I love you, brother. It's been a while since we spent time together, and this is really, really a joy.
Yeah.
A tremendous joy to share this time with you and to learn things about your journey that I didn't know before.
Yeah.
And to, be guided through these practices. They renew my interest and my excitement for Tantra and for kind of your leadership and facilitation. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Philip, for inviting me out of the blue here. And so, yes. And thank you for doing this work and spreading such alternative voices to the people here.
Yeah. Can I have a hug?
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you so much, buddy. Oh, yeah. Pratim, it's good to see you, brother. Thank you.